Hello and welcome to All Top 5s. I'm so sorry about that. Happy Halloween, everyone. All Hallows Eve, or Halloween, is more popular than ever on the 31st of October thanks to its commercialisation. But what is the real Halloween? Where did it come from? I'm going to look at the top 5 facts of Halloween as it began. Number 5. All Hallows Day. The word Halloween is a contraction, that is, a shortening. It means hallowed evening, and the first record of Halloween being used in English was around 1745. It was taken from All Hallows Eve, a phrase that was first seen in 1556, although All Hallows itself was an Old English term. In the Scots language, the word eve is even, and this was contracted over time to een or een, and that pretty much evolved into the word Halloween. Enough about the word though. The name All Hallows Eve comes about from the following day's festival, known as All Hallows Day, or more modernly, All Saints' Day. Held on the 1st of November, it's a Christian feast day to celebrate the lives and deaths of God's saints, and dates back to the 8th century. The word hallow itself means to make sacred or holy, to sanctify or consecrate, to venerate, and is essentially another word for saint. So it's suitable for a day that reveres saints then. And, coming full circle, All Hallows Eve, or Halloween, on the day before, celebrates the darker side of things. Number 4. Samhain. Many believe that the modern Halloween also evolved from an ancient Gaelic festival from harvest that marks the change from harvest season into the darker, wintry part of the year. This celebration, known as Soin, takes place from sunset to sunset over the 31st of October to the 1st of November. It's thought that it originated amongst the Celtic pagans, as it appears in early Irish writings and even Irish mythology. The people would light bonfires to act as protection against spirits, as it was believed that the barrier between the world of the living and the other world, where the spirits dwell, was thinner at this time of Samhain. The spirits were placated by leaving offerings of food and drink outside people's houses. Mumming and guising were also carried out, where people would dress in costume and go from door to door, reciting poetry and receiving food in exchange. All of this sounds remarkably familiar, and this is why many scholars believe that this strongly influenced Halloween, with pumpkins left outside and trick-or-treating echoing the festival of Samhain. This harvest celebration merged with All Hallows Eve over time to create Halloween as we know it today. Number 3. Lanterns. Today, one of the most popular aspects of Halloween is the carving of pumpkins into jack-o'-lanterns by hollowing out the pumpkin, carving a grotesque face, and lighting a candle inside, perhaps. This has a very clear inspiration, again of Gaelic origin. At the festival of Samhain, lanterns were traditionally carved out of turnips, sometimes hollowed out to contain a candle and used as a lantern. They were often carved with scary faces that were thought to represent the spirits that night, and by having a lantern effigy of one, people believed they would be protected from these spirits. When the tradition of turnip carving was taken across to North America, it changed somewhat to incorporate the native pumpkins, which were easier to carve and much larger. This practice began in the 19th century. There was a reference to a pumpkin head in versions of Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and also a poem named The Pumpkin by John Greenleaf Whittier, which read, "Oh, fruit loved of boyhood, the old days recalling, when wood grapes were purpling and brown nuts were falling, when wild ugly faces we carved in its skin, glaring out through the dark with a candle within." The name jack-o'-lantern dates back to the 1600s and was inspired by English folklore at the time concerning the will-o'-the-wisp. This was a ghostly light sometimes seen at night that looks like a flickering lantern, and which people believed to be an evil spirit attempting to lure travellers off their path through the marshes. It's actually now believed to be a chemical reaction from decaying bog material, but the spooky name will-o'-the-wisp stuck and inspired the name jack-o'-the-lantern, referring to the flickering flame inside one of these carved creations. As with many of these names, it shortened over time to jack-o'-lantern, which is now the name given to pumpkin lanterns made at Halloween. What a fascinating history of such a popular symbol. Number 2. Trick-or-treating. I already alluded to this in number 4, but trick-or-treating, despite being a fairly modern pastime, and a ludicrously commercial one nowadays, it has clear roots from centuries ago, going back even to the Middle Ages. There used to be a tradition called mumming, in which people would travel from door to door wearing costumes and would act out short snippets of plays or poetry in exchange for food and sometimes drink. This used to occur at many holidays though, not just at harvest festival time, but it may well have influenced it. In Ireland and Scotland, with the celebration of Soin, the same practice carried on, but with people dressing themselves as spirits or dead souls who would ask for a reward in return for good fortune upon the household. This is more reminiscent of trick-or-treating, and it became more similar in the 18th and 19th century in parts of Britain and Ireland. The practice of wearing costumes was known as guising, presumably from the word disguise, and was supposed to protect those dressed in costume from the spirits of the dead that roamed the world that night. Even back in the 15th century, and also referred to by Shakespeare in The Two Gentlemen of Verona, there are records of a practice known as souling. Recorded across Europe around All Hallows time, people would go from parish to parish and stand under windows singing rhymes such as a soul cake, have mercy on all Christian souls for a soul cake." All of these, as you can see, have massive similarities to modern day trick-or-treating. Number 1. The scary theme. Probably the most obvious aspect of Halloween is the scary theme. People go on spooky walks, eat food that resembles gruesome objects, dress as ghoulish monsters and ghosts, and enjoy watching scary films and playing frightening games. It all began with the Soin superstition that the boundary between this world and the world of the dead was thinner, and that all spirits of all kinds could cross over and roam our world for one night only. But as time went by, this fear of the appearance of the dead transitioned into assuming that all things spooky might appear. Nowadays you can see any number of various costumes in high street shops for a month before Halloween. It ranges from movie monsters such as Frankenstein's monster, to Dracula, to Stephen King's It, and mythological monstrosities like the werewolf, witches, zombies and ghouls. Oddly, people even dress as commandos, superheroes, schoolgirls and other such bizarre choices. It definitely seems to have diversified. Games and scary storytelling also take centre stage at Halloween, which harkens back to the Middle Ages onwards. It was traditional to play games that often involved divination, such as looking into a mirror in a dark room with a candle and hoping to see glimpses of your future. People would also play games involving fortune-telling, usually with a mystical and nervy atmosphere. Even landmarks and attractions get in on the fun. Venues revamp, if you'll forgive the unintentional pun there. They revamp their exteriors and interiors to provide a haunted house setting, or build up special rides like ghost trains and horror-themed roller coasters. It's a big business, and some of the special effects, costumes and props are seriously technical and advanced. It seems it's not going anywhere, and you can be guaranteed an atmosphere of spookiness pretty much wherever you go as Halloween comes around this year. And that's it from all top 5s for this week. It'll be interesting to see over the next few decades what becomes of Halloween, and whether it continues being such a growing commercial success, or if any new fads will enter into it, or cultural shifts affect it. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, because it really does help me out. A like on YouTube is worth 10 in the hand, or something. And you can subscribe to me if you want a new video every Tuesday on loads of different topics, scary and otherwise. One thing I'm really proud of is the community that All Top 5s has garnered, so I'd love to keep it nice and civil, so remember just to be polite and considerate in the comments. Let's all get along and enjoy ourselves. So that leaves me to say peace and love to each and every one of you, and I'll see you all next time on All Top 5s.